Hi, my name is Jane Smith, and I'm with the Compassion Project, and I am excited today to be here with Sally King. Welcome, Sally.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Sally was nice enough to offer to share her story. Yeah, I'm excited. So this woman is truly a beautiful soul. She is kind-hearted, compassionate, and has a deep desire to make a difference in the lives of the vulnerable and voiceless. She is an author, a speaker, a family coach, and she has an irrepressible spirit and energy to do the hard things and rise above her circumstances. Her new book, In Search of Serenity, has an insider's perspective of fostering and adoption. As an adoptee from the foster care system herself, she knows firsthand the devastation of childhood trauma and is a survivor in more ways than any one person should ever have to count. Sally lives in Stony Plain, Alberta, with her husband and two biological grown sons and her young daughter that she and her husband adopted through the foster care system. Welcome. I'm really honored you're here, honestly, and I think it's so important to share your story and what you've been through and give people some insight and yeah, to help others.
Well, everybody has this little storybook idea of what adoption's like or what foster like, and we watched that TV show, that there was a movie out, a couple, extended family, or I don't know, instant family, and it made it look like, oh, you have like a week's worth of trouble with the kid, and it's all wine and roses and unicorns, and it just isn't. And the foster system, I'm very vocal about it. It's extremely broken, and it's continuing to break kids and break families, and it's not good. It's not safe. And the one thing that really upsets me the most is that we, the foster kids, have no voice.
I know.
We have no rights, and we have no skin in the game other than we get passed around, and our little chicken came to us she was a year old, and she'd already been home with bio mom and in an abusive situation. She should have never gone home to mama.
And this is your little adoptive daughter?
Our daughter, Serenity. Her name is Serenity. That's her name.
Oh, Serenity.
Yes, very handy for the book title.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. And you adopted her at 1. Well, I kind of want to start with you. Maybe we'll go back a bit. I'm curious to know about your personal story, like when you were in the foster care system, and also if you have like clear memories, because I know, and I've learned that our clearest memories are attached to strong emotion. And I wonder what your early memories are as a child.
So I was with my biological mother for the first 6 months of my life, and then I was apprehended due to neglect. She was basically starving me to death. And then I went into foster care. I do not remember being in foster care. I was a baby. I was about a year. It's vague. There's not a lot of, this is 56 years ago, so there's not a lot of information, but it was vague. She was from so up to about a year. So I was a baby, technically a baby, and people thinking, well, you can't remember. It's fine. I mean, why did I have food issues my whole life? It's because I was starved as a baby, and that's in your subconscious. That's ingrained. People say to me, I'm a parent coach, and they say, well, I adopted my child at birth. Like they were 2 days old. What? Because there is trauma. There is trauma when I gave birth to my first biological son, the nurse was changing his diaper. He was screaming like crazy, and he was like really screaming, and I was kind of like freaking out, and she diapered him quickly and swallowed him up, and she was an older nurse, and she handed him over to me. I went, it's okay. And immediately he felt his body just stop. And I remember looking at her shocked, and I looked at her because as soon as I spoke, he stopped crying. And she said, of course, sweetheart, yours is the only voice he's heard for 9 months.
It's going to make me cry, Sally, because it makes me cry because I think of you as this little brand new baby, and they say like your brain is fully developed in the last third trimester of your pregnancy, and the baby hears everything and is preparing for their outside world. That's the survival. So, and then those first how many years of life are so important. And so even though you might not remember clearly, but it's in your brain.
Yes, it's in your brain. And it's funny because all I've done, my husband always says you do better research than the FBI, and I do. I research the heck out of everything because I was going to change the trajectory for our daughter's life because I struggled so much. And so what was interesting is I learned through Dr. Karen Purvis that when a child, when a pregnant mother is in trauma in her pregnancy, it changes the chemical makeup of the amniotic fluid. And
Oh,
it causes
wow.
baby to take on that trauma, and they do, and I see it. And there's things that I often wonder, and there's, you know, I've gotten into looking into generational trauma because my birth mother had a real history too, right? So this is the thing, is it changes who you are. And just because you get a child at birth and then you get adopted and everybody thinks you start at zero.
Like when you're adopted, like, oh, now it's going to be all good and happy.
It's
No, so
all
how old were you when you were adopted then?
I was somewhere around a year, like 6 months to it's not 6 months, about 10 months to a year. We don't know exactly, and I don't have all the paperwork. My adopted parents died fairly young, so I don't have all the things.
Okay.
That
Okay, wait a second. Okay, so you're adopted and at 1 year old, and was it into a family? Did they have siblings?
I have one older adoptive brother. He was adopted too.
And then how did they pass away?
My mother died when I was 18 of breast cancer. And then my father was killed in a boating accident 8 years after she died. But after she died, he went crazy and became an alcoholic and really messed up and pretty abusive. And it was rough. It was rough because
do you remember your childhood, like the younger years, say 5, 6, 7? Do you remember what was your adopted mom like?
My adoptive mom was amazing, but they were from that era that you were to be seen and not heard. And I had all these, I know now that I have a lot of sensory stuff. I have effects of fetal alcohol syndrome, and so but you can have effects and it can be very mild, which is what I have, right? But I have all of those things. But then when I was 10, my father's sister married a man who was a pedophile. So I had that fun.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So so as an adoptee, you never know your place in the world. I always say, yes, it's like you're sitting on the periphery looking in, but you're never really part of anything. You know, I can tell you that, like, my daughter is Indigenous, and when I took my biological sons out in the grocery cart, no one ever commented, oh, they're cute, or oh, they'd smile at them, right? But my daughter, oh, she's so cute. Is there anything wrong with her? Or, oh, she's so cute. Oh, you know, like, and they always ask questions like, you know, like, is there any problem? Like, what's it like?
Wow.
Like, I get it all the time. And so, and I used to be nice about it. I'm not anymore. I'm just trying to buy tomatoes, Karen. Like, you can just keep walking. Like, I'm just trying to get some groceries. I don't need to call. Nobody needs to know where my biological kids came from. Where'd you get her from? Is she foster? And her being Indigenous and with Indigenous issues, it's even more of a spotlight on her. And so, but I remember hearing, that was the one thing that I heard, and I always stop people when they say, I always heard as a kid, oh, she's so lucky. And what I translated that into is that my parents are getting their ticket into heaven by taking in me, this nasty little waif.
Aww.
And so I was always flipping out. I had all this sensory stuff. Like, if I write in my book about how, you know, people would, like, my biological kids know, and Rennie too, you never come up to me and go boo, because I will turn around and throat punch you. Like, that's a trauma response, right? And so I remember I had long ponytails, and there was this one guy, we always go camping with these families, and he'd come up behind me and grab my ponytails, and I would lose my ever-loving junk. And I'd get spanked and sent to the trailer. Right. And so you just get this constant message that you're bad, that you're wrong. I mean, I always, you know, my mom she was an amazing mom. I love her and loved her till the day she died. Like, she was amazing, but she was from that era that kids were spanked. And, you know, I often make the joke that she probably, because you see, when you're a trauma kid, when you're in full court, like, spanking doesn't make you cower. It makes you.
Yeah.
It on that, oh yeah, because I always say, like, do not back me into a corner, because I will come out swinging with both.
Because you've really had to put up your walls, your barriers, and protect yourself. It's like a natural way, like, no one's going to hurt me again, or you got that protective. So it's breaking down as you get older, I guess, breaking down all those barriers. And really, what I find interesting is when we can actually go back and realize, oh, we were broken from this or this, all of our things we go through, and then you actually can heal your brain. We actually can. It's a lot of work, but change our subconscious patterns and make healthier ones. Like, so we're not always going into that groove of like, you know?
And it's a daily thing for me. I mean, it is a daily thing for me. I'm not going to lie. You know, you said something that I want to just cotton on to. You said we're broken from. Nobody's broken. Nobody's broken. You know, there's a book out there, a very popular book in the adoption world, and I really rail against it because she's written a book about her biological or adoptive son they got from the Ukraine called Born Broken. And it's like, oh, I'm not broken, but I'm different. I'm changed. And that's okay. You can be changed. What doesn't break you makes you stronger. I'm not broken. Nobody's broken. You're only broken if you allow it to break you.
I agree. I think I was like, for me, I felt recently, because I went through kind of this, I had a tough teenage years and all that. And I feel like I didn't know, but I feel like my brain was broken from what I went through as a teenager. And I've healed it. Like, I feel like, I guess the word wasn't broken, but I felt like, wow, I didn't realize how these unhealthy pathways that I've healed and created healthy new ones. So it's kind of, yeah.
But in order to, if you're broken, it feels like you can't. If I take this cup right now and throw it on the floor and it smashes, I can't fix it.
Feels like, yeah,
so,
it's true.
But if I'm changed, if I crack it, I can glue it up a bit. So
I agree. I like that, because instead of using the term broken,
right. I don't want to be thought of as broken. I want to be thought of as resilient, and resilience. I have troubles with that word too, and I'll tell you what. But I am strong, and
You're strong.
and now I'm resilient. But children, what I have problems with the word resilient is that children are not resilient. They learn coping strategies, but they don't until they know how to do it right. Their coping strategies are not good. So you're the kid that flips out. You're the kid that throws temper tantrums. You're the kid that does really crazy things, and people think they're just being behavioral. And that was the problem. My parents didn't know what they got, and so they didn't know about all the things that would happen to me. About, you know, I mean, my mom used to wrap up my adoption story in a pretty little bow that, you know, it takes far more love to give a child up that you know you can't take care of. Well, she friggin' took me home and starved me. She, you know, I mean, and I'm not angry at her, and I know her story now, and I have nothing but compassion for her. Should she be raising me? Absolutely not. She shouldn't have been, and that was a good thing, right? But
this is, you're talking about your birth mom?
My birth mother, right? And it's the same thing with my birth mother. I love my daughter's birth mother, and I have nothing but love and compassion for her. Do I think she should have serenity? No, I don't, because she's not capable, right? Because she didn't get the tools and the things to help. Like, I'm grateful that my parents gave me enough love and understanding that I was able to find it later in life.
Yeah. Do you think, because I think I've used this little adoptive girl, and like you saying, you feel like you don't ever really fit in, but I'm sure there are some cases where the families really are just loving. Do you think? I like, part of me is thinking, there's got to be somewhere that the child actually, if the parents, I think, have a very have done a lot of work on themselves and know the verbal, what I think there could be some really healthy situations too.
Listen, we need adoption. We need adoptive parents. And I know a ton of amazing adoptive parents, and I would like to think I'm one of those. But what I'm saying is, you need to have awareness around the fact that this kid, when it comes to you, even if it's 2 days old or 2 hours old, it comes to you with a set of Samsonite and baggage. And you better recognize that. And anything you learn in your bio kids, throw it out. Because it doesn't here. So we're different, but we're not bad. And adoptive, and wanting to adopt and having a heart for adoption is beautiful. But don't think that love, this is what I always tell my parents that I coach, because I coach adoptive parents. Love is not enough. Love is not enough. Loving them is not enough, because children who need the most love will ask for it in the most unlovable ways.
Interesting.
And trust me, I was that kid that asked for it in the most unlovable ways, and I still fall back into that sometimes. You know, and I have
is that like you wanting to get attention, like asking for love and getting attention? Is that what you mean?
No, attention. It is not attention seeking. It is connection seeking.
Oh. Oh,
So
that's
you need
powerful.
like when as soon as you say, oh, they're just trying to get attention, that's a negative thing. No, they're seeking connection, they're seeking safety, they're seeking felt safety, they're seeking, Serenity will sometimes, she'll be mad at me and she'll be like this, right? And I'll just she's 10 going on 18. And I'll just go, I can see that you're really struggling right now. What can I do? I always say to my parents, and you never turn the hurting away. You bring them closer. You lean into closeness. And there's times when they don't want that. And I remember one time she said to me, I hate you. And I said, that's okay, baby girl, because I got enough love for both of us. You'll like me again in an hour. But
Yeah.
it's okay. Got you. I love you. I love you. And she can yell at me and I'll go, but I love you so much. I love you. And I love you. And
Aww.
because what happens is that here's the problem. When you're in full court, you're always in your limbic, your reptilian brain, which is always, and unfortunately that frontal lobe is not your thinking brain, that's your emotional brain. And when you're sitting in your emotional brain all the time, sadly your thinking brain is 3 seconds slower. So you need that time to calm down to let your thinking brain catch up. And I wish I'd have known this. Oh my goodness, I wish I'd have known this. So many relationships I wouldn't have lost.
That's why people react like this emotionally. And if you can, and when you become, I'm sure you agree with this, that's becoming aware of your thinking, so that when the emotion hits, you can be like, well, that didn't feel good. Take a minute, be like, why am I feeling this hurt from what that person said? And you can take a moment, think, and then react.
Yes, because I can think fast on my feet because I've had to my whole life, because I've had to try and dodge my uncle, to try and dodge all the things that went on in my life. So I have learned to think fast on my feet. And I always say that I can slice, dice, and julienne you in about 3 seconds because my mouth is on. And my thinking brain hasn't engaged and I'm on a diatribe. So now I just sort of go, if I'm super triggered, I had a situation happen last week with a friend that I ended a friendship, and I was super triggered, and I just hung the phone up because nothing that was going to come out of my mouth was going to be kind. And even though she was incredibly unkind and awful to me, I don't have to play ball. I don't have to live in that world. So
it's better to just be like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything and just
peace out. And I hung the phone up, and we're done. Like I don't, if someone has the ability to say something like that to me, we don't have anywhere to go, because you triggered me, you hurt me, you know my background, and for you to say something like that to me is, you're not worth my time, because there's so many beautiful humans out there, and she's just broken. It's just her stuff. I get that. I'm not angry at her anymore, but I'm also not going to throw in that energy anymore either.
Well, and I think that's like when in life, when people, I've learned that people are entitled to do and be and say whatever they want, and it's how we react that causes the problem. But I also agree that you have to take care of yourself, and you have to be like, this is not healthy for me. This relationship's not serving me. And there's all these other people. They say surround yourself with people who lift you up, and it's the 5 people you surround yourself with that will create who you are, so be around positive people. So I think it's a smart move to be like, you know what, this relationship is not serving me anymore. And you can love them from afar and be like, you know what,
I just stopped, sent her love, and left and walked away. And I have no interest in having a discussion. I'm done. And I don't do that with I mean, this was a bigger story, but I'm just saying is that we have to be able to recognize what our personality is like. And I know that I should not speak when I'm triggered.
Right. That's, what, you're aware, then that's powerful when you become aware.
Ask my husband.
Oh, that's different. Okay, so I want to go back to that kind of breaks my heart. Your mom passed away when you were 18, because that's also an age. 18 years old to lose your mom is like, how was that? Yeah, like how did you get through that?
That was rough. That one brought me to my knees for years, like years. And I honestly don't think, you need to read my book, because I'm going
to.
And my book is called In Search of Serenity, and it is how I didn't even realize how much losing my mom when I did, and losing my first mother, how much that changed me until I got Serenity, and she had lost her first mother, and then she lost her foster nana, and then she got me, right? Like she had two mother figures leave her, and then she got me, right? And how much that changes you. And not that her foster nana was amazing, let's be clear, she was amazing, and she is still somewhat in her life, but I mean, they move on, right? But the thing about it is that I didn't realize, like, the theme of my book is that Serenity saved me. Like, people think, oh, she's so lucky, and I'm like, she saved me, and she made me see my value and my worth just by her loving me and me loving her. And how much, when I lost my mom when I was 18, she was sick for 3 years, and it was brutal, and I could feel her going, and I knew, I mean, I was, I always say these kids that have been through trauma are so much wiser. Like, I was grade 6 and I was scared to go to grade 7 because I was scared that I didn't want to grow up. And it was like, I instinctively knew it was going to be hard. And I think I instinctively, spiritually knew that she was going to leave. And so I just didn't, my adoptive mom was an angel. She was a beautiful, beautiful human. Like, I adored her.
What was her first name?
Jean. And my name is actually Sally Jean.
Oh, Jean. Okay.
Yeah, and she was amazing, and she was there's so many things about her that I could, and so to lose that and to not have the benefit of having her in my adult life and helping me navigate what was to come even later, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many times, I mean, my wedding day, the day I gave birth, my mother was a midwife, for heaven's sakes. You know the TV show called She was in England riding around on her bike delivering babies. That's what she did.
Really?
Wartime England. Yes. And so she was badass, my mama was. Like, she was amazing. And I'm thinking, I gave birth to my boys without her. She adopted. I adopted without her. I walked down, my father had died by the time I got married too. So I didn't have my dad to walk me down the aisle. All of those things, those big milestones, and they change you.
Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of loss in your life. It's crazy.
Yes. And that's something that, I still have a therapist because I need one. I think most people do. And that is a theme for me. I mean, I think I mentioned when we were talking before this went on that my husband nearly died in October, and that whole loss piece just came back again, like, like.
Do you ever listen to, I like to listen to a lot of personal growth on YouTube. So, and I find lots of different people, and I've recently, last couple months, listened to this man. His name's Peter Crone. Have you ever listened to him?
No, I've never heard of him.
He's unbelievable. You should go. It's the Mind Architect. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, he was an only child. He lost his mom to cancer when he was 7, and his dad when he was 17. His dad passed, and he's been through a lot in his life. But he actually says he was really able to heal when he realized, because he kept saying, I lost my mom, lost my dad, that he feels like that. He's really into the words. And he said, when you say you've lost, it's like, it means that it's something you're always looking for. And he goes, I didn't lose anything. They passed away. That was their life journey. I didn't lose them. I'm not looking for them. It was unfortunate, difficult, but saying that they passed, I thought that's kind of powerful when you think about that.
It's very powerful.
You might like him. I think he's really good on the brain and how you think, and he's
There's
powerful.
So much around. It's such a huge piece of that. Like, it's how you look at it too. Like, someone said to me once, Sally, what, if I could wave my magic wand and you could bring your parents back today, would you let me? And I said, no. Really? Like, I could do it. If I could just do it, would you? No. Why not? Because I wouldn't be who I am today with them still here. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Yeah, that's a hard thing for some people to accept, but it's true. And I am I had a question here for you. I wanted to know what you would
sorry.
Okay.
I just fell over. There we go. I'll just fix it. See, this is live. This is what live's all about.
It's all good. That's why you love a live video. You can put it back
up. I love a live video, right? That has never happened before. Well, there we go. See, people, look at that. See, there's my life.
Okay.
Oh my goodness me. Rex,
all
my hair.
Good.
What were you saying?
I wanted to know, for you, when you were a young woman, like when you were like 18, 19, 20, what your hopes and dreams were.
It's interesting you asked that, because at that age I was just trying to survive. I was so suicidal. I was so unhappy. I was so messed up, because of the abuse from my uncle, because of all of the stuff. It was so just, I was just barely hanging on.
Oh,
And
too much. Yeah.
my mom had just died, right? I turned 18 in September and she died January 31st, the following January 31st. And so it was just so brutal. It was just so brutal. And I don't even, it was a fog. It was an absolute fog for me, right? Was just, I don't even remember most of it.
I can see that.
And I was trying to find where my purpose in life and where I fit. And my dad was drinking and abusive. And it was a yucky time. So
Wow.
the survival, there was no dreaming.
Yeah, it was survival. That makes sense though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have advice for to young women and men coming out of the foster care system, like that have had a tough time? What advice would you give? I have a beautiful friend, Abby. She's probably going to watch this. I love her to bits, and she's been on the Compassion Project, and she is now in university. We're all celebrating her, and she has has been in the foster system most of her life. I just want to know what advice you'd give to a young woman.
Yes, I would say is your past doesn't define you. It does not define you, and and you got to deal with it. You got to walk through it. There's only one way. You got to walk through it. You got to deal with it. Nothing exterior or person or situation will make it better. You have to walk through it. And you have to recognize, you have to find the beauty in it too, right? And it's hard I know of Abby's story through you, and wow, that's like massive. But you have to know that you are important. You have to know that you matter, and that's a hard piece of being adopted in general, because the one person who should care about you more than anything walked away.
Yeah, she's actually reconnected with her birth mom and birth dad, which is a beautiful thing. But one thing I have to say I admire about Abby is that Abby really reaches out for people. Like if she needs people in her life, strong women, she will reach out and connect. She's really good at that.
And see, that's super important. And you know what? You need a therapist. You need a therapist or a mentor or somebody. You really need that, because it's super, super important to recognize that you can't do this alone. This is a great big bucket of yuck, right?
Yeah.
And you can't do it alone. You just can't do it alone. So it's super, super important to recognize that and ask for help. And when you've been a kid from foster care, you don't want to ask for help, because that's a trauma response too. I don't need anybody. I'm fine. I don't need anybody. I was like, a lot of years. And so I push people away because it just hurts too much to love.
Wow.
I get hurt. So it took me a long time to get to the place. And I mean, my husband is a saint. I'm telling you, this man. And
how old were you when you met him?
I was 31.
When you met him?
I was just before my 31st birthday when I met him. And then we got married when I was we got married a year later, just about to the day. And and so we've been married just about 25 years, and he's amazing. And the things he's had to learn, and he's had to, I mean, there's no perfect situation, but I had to realize he couldn't save me. It wasn't his job. I had to save me.
That's powerful. And it's true for all of us. We all have to look within and heal ourselves and save ourselves. No one can do it for us. No one. It's right, because our whole life and every relationship is based upon how we think. So that's why I think it's interesting when you start to realize, like, your entire relationship with your husband is your thoughts about everything. What we think all the time creates our whole life. It's so much power. So how do you, I was going to ask you, how do you let your past go and forgive
someone said something to me,
those that have hurt you, like to be able to just be free? Or can you be free? Is that even, can you let it go? Or are you like, I think you're more like you learn from it, and this is, or what do you,
well,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I think you absolutely can. But what I always say is that forgiveness, I struggle with that whole forgiveness piece. I'm supposed to forgive the guy that abused me, really? Like, to me, it was like I was condoning that action, like saying, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's not. And what I learned, someone said to me, forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past. I can't change what,
Yeah.
and it took me a long time.
That's what Oprah Winfrey says. Oprah Winfrey said that forgiveness is giving up all hope that the past could have been any different.
That's right. And so when you accept the fact that that things happen for you, not to you, and when you realize that, when I look at some of the stuff that has happened to me, and I could be bitter, and I've had seasons of bitterness. I don't anymore. I'm not bitter. I don't want my parents back. You know what I mean? I mean, you know what I'm saying, right?
No, I know. Yeah.
And so for me, what it is it happened for me, and it made me who I am. And if I can turn my mess and turn it into a message, and somebody else that's further behind in the journey can get inspiration from that, then great. That's why it happened. And if I can help walk other people home, then that's huge. That's huge.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Because otherwise, what happened, right?
Yeah. And now you have this little girl. You adopted her when she was 1, Serenity.
Yeah. Well, she was legally adopted when she was 4. Don't get me started on the adoption system. We got her when she was 1.
Yeah. Okay. So did you foster her then?
We did. We fostered her for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was.
Was she your first child that you fostered, or had you fostered a few others?
Nope. We were trying to adopt because I'm not a big fan, even for my life, of the foster system. And, it's funny how, God puts people in your life and puts situations in your life. And we were trying to adopt elsewhere, and like China, internationally, domestically, and none of it worked out. And then she kind of fell in our lap, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I am telling you, like, that situation nearly brought me to my knees. That situation was rough, like trying to deal with. I always say, I watched my mother die of breast cancer, and I walked the beach looking for my father's dead body and found it, and that wasn't as bad as dealing with the foster care system.
Wow. Really?
So it was the worst situation I've ever had to deal with. I can't tell you how I have shed more tears over this child, not because of her, because of her situation. And they made it so hard, and we were so villainized, and I fought hard for her. Like, I had a social worker say to me once, this is the fastest adoption we've ever done. I said, well, that's embarrassing. You actually shouldn't admit that, because it took you 3 years.
Wow.
So that's embarrassing.
Like, how do you begin to fix a system like that is broken, and all these children in foster care? I mean, it's almost like, it seems like it's just such a huge mountain to even begin to, the iceberg. It's like this iceberg that we don't see, that no one really knows. Right.
It's all.
And how do you ever start to fix? How can you ever fix a system that is so broken? I mean, I know we need it, but yet
it's huge. But unfortunately, it's so. I'm going to use the word corrupt. It's so corrupt that it needs a complete blank slate. It needs everybody to be fired, and we need to start off from the ground up again, because people are so enmeshed in their rules, and they're so enmeshed in their power tripping, and so enmeshed in. And I mean, I've had social workers say to me, "It's never about the child," and I said, "Well, that's disgraceful. That's disgraceful."
Oh, goodness. Yeah. This innocent child that is just being pushed through a system that is not working for them. It breaks my heart.
I have a hard time with it. I have a terribly hard time with it. And I was never okay with the system. I was never okay with the rules. I fought the social workers. I mean, I am not their friend, and they do not like me. And I'm okay with it. I had a social worker say to me once, Sally, you're not making any friends. And I said, well, that's good. Because if I was making friends in this organization, I'd have to go to my God and question on who I am as a human. Because if you people liked me, that would mean I'm not doing my job, because all I care about is this child. This little girl.
Yeah.
Someone to fight for her. She needs to fight for her hard. And that's all that matters. And so I thought my phone was turned off. I'm sorry. I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care if I'm not making friends. And I think it's
it's about her.
I know stuff, because I know I have a lot of friends who foster, and the stuff that I know would put hair on your chest. Like, it scares, it sickens me. And
Aw.
so I care about these kids. And so I want them to be resilient. I want people to foster, but dang it, it's hard because they make it so hard for you. They make you, I say in my book, it brought me to my knees on more than one occasion, like sobbing,
Wow.
just please praying to God, please just help me get this child safe. Like, it's hard.
Aw. When did
It's
your
hard.
book come out? It's called what's it
In
called?
search, in search of serenity.
In Search of Serenity, her book. And when did it come out?
It came out October 1st of last year, 2020.
October
Yeah.
1st. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's an accomplishment in the pandemic to get a book done.
Right, crazy too, you know, like it's like, why, who does that? Well, I guess I did. But you know what, it was perfect because I had written it 6 years ago, but wasn't ready to, I still had so much shame around my story and shame around, you know, because that's what you feel like. You feel shameful, you don't feel like it's empowering or anything. It's just, I need to get my story out. And then it wasn't until I think it was June of 2020 I found out that a friend was actually a published, like actually an editor. I knew I needed an editor. I knew I needed someone to take the crazy out and just help me share the story, right? And so she
Yeah.
edited it, and it was my words, but you know, she might have taken a few swear words out, I'm not gonna lie. and you know, and it was just by fluke that I made some post on Facebook, just a joking post, and she went, well, I kind of used to edit books back in the day. And I'm like, and
Wow.
and we worked together, and there was days when we were sitting at my kitchen table and editing this book, and we realized how I edit was, she can't send me work and I don't do that. She had to sit at the kitchen table with me, and you know, there was days that I would yell at her going, no, like there was so many things that she would say. She'd say something I talk a lot about is having a soft place to fall, and she changed it to land. And I said, when pilots land a plane, they're in control. They know what they're doing. They've got this. I was free falling, baby. There was no engine, no gasoline, no oil, no steering wheel. I was falling. And she went, oh, okay.
I
Right.
honestly, you don't make me cry because I didn't, the power of words, I don't think about landing because that sounded right, but then falling the way you described it, because you've lived it. And when people haven't lived it, they don't know.
That's
And
right.
my favorite line in life is what you don't know that you don't know.
That's right.
And it's so powerful. When I first heard that, I was like, I didn't really understand it, but now I'm like, oh my goodness, what you don't know that you don't know about that person and what they've gone through in their life. And that's why it's like, treat everyone with compassion and kindness and love, because you don't know what happened to them that day, or you don't know what they happened the day before, if they lost a parent, if they have been abused, and they go out in the world and they try to put on put themselves together, and they're breaking inside. And
That's
if they
right.
you the wrong way, or if they cut you off in traffic, or it's just, give them grace. I just think it's
That's
time
right.
to give people grace and know that we all have our things we go through, and we just don't know. Like, no one knows. You go out
That's
there,
right.
but no one knows what your story is. I think it's so important for you to share it, because not only do I think it's important to be vulnerable and say, this is me, raw, open, this is me, this is my life. We all have our stuff. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where you just have to look at things and you just have to go, yeah, like you say, you don't know what someone's going through. I saw some blogger post about, well, my son and I just got displayed of bad parenting today in Walmart. My son and I had to have a talk in the car. It's like, really, you don't know what that woman was doing with losing her junk on her kid in Walmart. You don't know what she went through that day. She could have just found out that she's got a lump in her breast. She could have just
You
found out
don't
that
know. I know.
her husband was leaving her. Because
I know.
because I walked through life for years being that bitch, that
Yeah.
bad person. I remember my mom was dying, telling off a clerk in a pharmacy because they didn't have the kind of shampoo that I wanted, and telling her off. And I did go back after mom died, and it was a small town. I grew up in Brooks, so it was in Brooks. So they knew the situation, so they had given me grace. But I went back and apologized, and I said I had found out that day that she didn't have long. And so, Breck shampoo put me over the edge. Right?
Well, I think it's an important message for people is to all of us to try to give grace to other people and not take things personally, and know that everyone's on their own journey and story. But I'm sure you and I could talk for a long, long time. we should.
Good.
I think I would like to end with a question. What, I'm sure you're into gratitude. Gratitude is a big part of personal growth.
Oh, yeah.
What are you most grateful for right now in your life?
I am so grateful for, I mean, the obvious is my husband, my kids, blah, 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 right? That's the obvious. But I am
Yeah.
so grateful for these lessons that I get. I am so grateful that I was chosen to learn the things that I had to learn. I am so grateful that that I get to be a voice, that I get to have this podium that you have offered to me today to share my message. I'm grateful for that. I really am, because nobody, I was in the shadows. I was in the dark for so long, and people just thought that I was fine, and I just wasn't. And I want
Yeah.
other people to know. So we have to bring this stuff out of the shadows. And so I'm grateful for that. And I
Aw.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And honestly, I'm super grateful for you, and I'm honored to have you on here and share your story. It's not easy, and yeah, you're an amazing, amazing woman, and your story can
Thank you.
help a lot of people. And we can put the link in the comments to your book. I'm definitely going to buy it. I so want to read your story. So thank you to everyone who watched, and yeah, we'll certainly have you on again, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
thanks everyone. Bye.